The gentleman from Colonial Heights, Mr. Cox.
Mr. Speaker, I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Gentleman may proceed.
Mr. Speaker, over the last few days, we've tried to give an overview of some of the, I think, very good actions you're going to see in the budget. So today I wanted to address higher education, which we've worked very hard on. I think you're going to see a common theme through all the speeches, though. Yesterday, when the gentleman from RICO gave one dealing with mental health, one thing I really wanted to point out that he pointed out was that this is just not a new initiative for us. We put $54 million in last year. We try to be very consistent with some of our beliefs with free clinics, et cetera. And so today I want to talk about higher education. I want to start with a little bit of history because we worked very hard on this particular topic. A lot of you will remember the top jobs of the 21st century legislation back in 2011. We tried to accomplish two things: access and affordability for students and reform. They have to go hand in hand. So you'll see that this budget is going to build on those things. First of all, we've made great progress with enrollment. You know, a big issue for a lot of you is you can't get your students, you can't get your own children in the universities that have the greatest demand. So one of the things we've really tried to do is create in-state slots. And if you recall, we created 1,700 since 2011 for four of our most in-demand universities: William & Mary, James Madison, UVA, and Virginia Tech. This year, we're going to continue that progress, a little bit of a twist. We have enrollment money in the budget, which we're happy to say. We've actually increased it to more schools. And here's the benchmark. If those schools have over a 60% graduation rate, we want to incentivize them to enroll more students because they're doing very, very well. But we don't take just sort of a blanket approach. With other schools that have under a 60% graduation rate, really, that's not how we want to incentivize them. We want to incentivize them on retention. We want to get them, obviously, get their graduation rates up. So here's what we're doing for them. We're actually going to go back to a tried and true tool, and that is the transfer grant for community colleges. This stat might shock you a little bit. It did me. But kids that complete 2 years of a community college that exercise the transfer grant have an 85% graduation rate. And so one of the things we're going to do for our schools that have under a 60% graduation rate is we're going to put a $1,000 kicker on top of that transfer grant. So that will give them even more incentive to take those students, which we're very, very excited about. We're also doing some other things. There's a 2% salary increase for college faculty. That's the number one thing our universities and colleges tell us would be their very top priority. We also want to reward innovation. And that is something we've also done over the last few years. We've had a chance as an appropriation committee to go down to Virginia Tech and particularly see some of the great things they're doing with brain disorders, et cetera. There'll be money in the budget for that. Last year, both sides of the aisle worked on CCAM. CCAM is, a lot of you know, is a great advanced manufacturing consortium where Rolls-Royce actually also has a factory down there. And one of the ideas is an apprenticeship academy. As you know, we put $25 million up for that. We have actually some legislation in this year. We have a piece in the budget that will help advance that. There's a new concept called CCALs, which basically is CCAM, but on the logistical side. And what this does is it takes some of the great universities that we have along with businesses, and they work together on logistical issues. And we have in the budget this year some money for basically doing some modeling down at the port to basically help with some of their logistical issues for CCAL. So we're excited about that. Also, Richard Bland College, which is a small 2-year college down in Prince George County, has some really innovative things they want to do with their online platforms, et cetera, and with CCAM. So we're trying to incentivize that. A lot of you wear your great George Mason colors every time that we have George Mason Day. And I think President Cabrera is doing some very innovative things. And there are a lot of bills put in that we're going to try to incentivize in that area. Let me give you two. Veterans, of course, are very important to everyone. In cybersecurity and nursing, there are two budget amendments in there basically to give better pathways for veterans in those two areas. You'll see both of those in the budget. Online education, that is something that's tremendously big, but in the public side, maybe hasn't been quite as successful. George Mason is developing a comprehensive online course offering we're going to incentivize, and also a research innovation hub in Northern Virginia. So all of those are things we're doing with George Mason. And finally, let me say this, that student debt is something we've talked a lot about on this floor. And I said the other day, it's $1 billion last year, basically, in borrowed money that students are using to pay for their education. And we have several bills that go along with what we've done in the budget, and I want to reemphasize those. We have the flat fee degree for high-demand jobs that I think is very, very innovative. The Delegate Rush, of course, did. Delegate Klein, of course, we just passed recently. He has a less expensive way to go to online degrees. That's another really good innovation. And of course, the speech would not be complete without me giving a shout out to my great athletic fee bill, which will of course bend the cost curve for students who pay somewhat up to $1,700 in student fees. So I think the combination of the budget, what we've done there to make progress on our ideas, and what we've done with these various pieces of legislation. I'll conclude with this. We have great universities and colleges. But if we're going to use the same models we've used for the last 50 years, we're not going to be successful in the future. So we're going to both put our money where our mouth is. We're going to challenge in various areas to change those models. We're going to incentivize things that we think work. So let me thank both the chairman of appropriations and the vice chairman for this great work. Look forward to the higher ed report on Sunday. I think you'll be very pleased. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah.